So can someone tell me what is the error here? Can someone tell me what the error is here? So Radhika, she is saying that she is not able to send the request. So can someone tell me why she is getting the error? Acha, HTTPS is missing. Acha, so if I add HTTPS, okay, hold on. If I add HTTPS to this one, this will be done. Okay, hold on, hold on. Interesting answers. Very interesting answer. Hold on. At least someone has understood this correctly. You guys are not copying the endpoint correctly. I asked you guys to right click and copy the endpoint. I did not ask you guys to copy the endpoint from here. I don't know how you were even able to copy the endpoint. Maybe like this. Because I did not ask you to copy the endpoint like this. I'm not sure why you guys are not paying attention in the class. I don't know why. I don't know why you guys are not paying attention in the class because this is not what I have asked you guys to do. I have asked you to right click on this link and then click on copy link address. At least had you listened to yesterday's class correctly, you could have answered this properly. So many of them are saying HTTPS is missing. I mean, come on. Were you guys sleeping in yesterday's session? Just because you had HTTPS, will this endpoint work? What nonsense. Come on. You had HTTPS. Just because you had HTTPS, this is not going to work. Okay. So you need to copy the endpoint correctly, first of all. If you don't copy the endpoint correctly, you will not even be able to send the request at all. So right click and then say copy link address. And then copy paste it here. Come on, how come you guys don't even remember this? I have explained this in the entire session yesterday. And if you guys make these kind of silly mistakes, I can only understand that you are not paying attention in the class. That's all I can tell you. Come on. Next. So yesterday, uh, based on yesterday's session, can anyone briefly summarize what all did we cover? Can someone briefly summarize what all did we cover yesterday in yesterday's session? Okay, we have covered get method. All right. What next? API. What is an API? All right. Next. What next? What next? What parameters? That is more important. What parameters did we cover? Exactly. We have covered query parameters and path parameters, both of them. We have covered query parameters as well as path parameters, both of them. We have covered both of them in yesterday's session. What next? What all did we cover? Exactly, JSON format. Very good. We have also covered JSON format. Where will you get JSON format? Where or when will you get JSON format? Okay, exactly. No, don't say execution in Postman. No, don't ever say after executing in Postman. No. Not say like that. You should not say like that. Don't say after execution in Postman. No, that is not what you must say, because don't execute an endpoint. Just simply send a request to an endpoint and get the response. Don't ever say that we are executing endpoint. No, you are sending request to an endpoint. You are getting a response back from the endpoint. This is what is happening in reality. So yesterday, for post, for all the crude operations, CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete. What did we actually learn in Postman? Of all the operations, crude operations, which one did we learn yesterday? Exactly, read, which is get. Is get, read or retrieve. This is what we have learned in yesterday's session. So read means in database. What will you use in database? No, don't say get operation. Say get operation. Don't say get operation. We have used select in our database. Very good. In our API testing, what will we use? In our API testing, what will we use for get or retrieve? What is get called as? You call get as select is an SQL keyword. You write queries using SQL keyword. What is get? What is get? No, that is not what I'm asking. Read or retrieve means in SQL you use the keyword select. In MySQL you use the keyword select. Then what is get called as? Get and a post and pro. ఇది ఎక్కడ తలకాయ నొప్పి గెట్ అంటే పోస్ట్ అంటే ఏంది గెట్ అంటే ఏంది పోస్ట్ అంటే ఏంది రెండు డిఫరెంట్ I'm asking you about get. Why are you telling me about post? I did not even discuss anything about post. Exactly. Chandana is the only one who has answered this correctly. HTTP request method. Exactly. Exactly. Get is one of the HTTP request methods. Get is one of the HTTP request methods. Okay. Just like get, you have put, patch, post, delete, all of these. So yesterday we have learned we have learned Git using two different endpoints. Using two different endpoints, we have tried to understand what your Git is. Okay. Now today, let's try to understand what your post is. Okay. So hold on a minute. I'll give access to Anusha. Anusha, okay na access system meeku meer cheyagaltara? Problem leda? Okay. So now go back to regress.in and select your endpoint for post. Select your endpoint for post. Scroll to the bottom. Scroll a little bit down and you should see post. Exactly. Post. Correct. Correct. So right click on that. Copy link address. You'll immediately see a post request endpoint. So click on that. Copy your URL or your endpoint. Paste it here. Paste it here. Exactly. Yes. Paste it here. And from the drop down, change the request type to post. So everyone, do what Anusha is doing on her screen. So you should change the request type to post and you should copy paste the endpoint in Postman. Now, a very simple question for all of you. So you guys already have understood about database testing by now. So a very small question for you guys. So you all are saying that, in crude operations, C is, I mean, to create anything in database, we use create keyword or insert keyword. So similarly, in your API testing, you use post request method. All right. So can anyone write SQL query for insert? You want to insert a name into a table. You want to insert name into a table. Can anyone write SQL query for that? Take any table of your choice. No problem. I'm not even asking you that the table name is the table name can be anything. Just take any sample example table name and you want to insert the name into the table. Can you write the SQL query for that? Write it in the chat box and send it across to me. What happened? I did not get any answers. Exactly, Rehman. Exactly. Correct. Correct. Radhika. Exactly. Correct. But the problem here is you have all written correct answer. Ashwini, your query is wrong. Your query is wrong. Srinivas. తప్పు అస్సలు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయాలని అర్థమైపోతుంది క్వెరీ మీ ఆన్సర్ చూడంగానే నేను చెప్పగలుగుతా అస్సలు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయలేదు ఇది అని చెప్పాను మీరు నేను అడిగిన వెంటనే ఏదో ప్యాచ్లు వేసేసిరని చెప్పి అర్థమైపోతుంది ప్రీతి సేమ్ విత్ యూ ఆల్సో యూ డిడ్ నాట్ ప్రాక్టీస్ by looking at your answers I can simply tell you that you guys did not practice anything. Okay, you guys did not practice anything. Srinivas, Preeti, Ashwini, Sahrish to a certain extent is all right. Radhika, it should be values, not value. So Radhika is also to a certain extent, she is all right. Rehma is also all right to a certain extent. Monica, again, you are creating a table altogether. I did not ask you to create a table. I have asked you to insert value into a table. I did not ask you to create a table. I have asked you to insert value into a table. You have written create table, something A, B, C, D, something. So I did not ask you to create a table. So folks, you will have to practice a lot. You still have a lot of practicing that is needed. So you may have to work a little more harder, you guys all. I mean, sure, wrong again. I've asked you to insert some values into the table. Why are you using the create keyword? Okay, so some of you have given correct answers. Some of them have literally given blunders. Okay, some of you have literally given blunders as the answers, but that's all right. You're still in the very initial stages of your learning. So you still have a lot of time to understand, practice, and master these basic concepts. These are not just basic, you have intermediate to advanced level concepts also in there. So please make sure you are practicing a little bit more. You may have to practice a little bit more. This is not enough. So all right. So just like how you have written insert into your table name, then you are giving your column name as name, and then you are saying values. So whenever you want to insert something into the table, you provide those values. You want to insert some values. You want to insert your name into the table. So you provide the name value so that it can be inserted into the table. Okay, you want to insert your employee ID. So you will provide that employee ID as insert into employee in your brackets, you will say employee ID values, and you will give your employee ID number. This is how you will insert your value into the table. Similarly, for create request, or for create operation in CRUD, C is create. For create operation, you use insert query or create query in SQL. Similarly, in Postman, you use post HTTP request method. Post request is what you will use in your API testing. Okay, so she has taken post as the request type. She has copied the endpoint. What other things does she need? By taking your SQL queries as examples, can you tell me what more? I will say this is not enough to send a request. You need something more, something else to send a request. So what do you need extra? What more do you need to send a proper request? Query parameter. No. Query parameter. You don't need a query parameter. The very word itself says query parameter. Query means you are asking for something. Here it is post. Post is used for create. You're not asking for something in post. You are creating some data. You are inserting some data. You are inserting some values into the table. So here you should not use query parameter. What is the use of query parameter? No, you will never use query parameters. Your post request will also not have any query parameters. No, you need some inputs. You need some, of course, this might look like as query parameters, but no, in reality, that is not the, you might be referring to yesterday's query parameters. Those are different and these are different. All right. So what is this endpoint about? Can you go back and take a look at the description of this endpoint? Create and hold on. Just underneath your endpoint, you have name and job JSON values. Just under your endpoint, you have just underneath your endpoints, you have something like name and job. Rupali, that's wrong. So relax, that's wrong. So you need a name and a job. So these will become your request body. Something like your values. In your SQL query, you write insert into table values. So those values are given here. These are the pattern, or these are the key value pairs that you need to use whenever you are trying to insert some data. So what are the keys here? What are the keys? Some people will also call this as a payload. Okay, some people will also call this as a payload. So what are the keys? Keys are name and job. So go back to your Postman. So where should you give your key and values? Here under query and under params section, we have something called as query params. So first give your key. What is your first key? Your first key is name. Your second key, you can give the second key also. Your second key is your job. So for name, give some name in double quotes. Value, as value, give some value. In double quotes, give some value. Job, give some value for job also. Exactly. Now that you have given your key value pairs, that is your payload, okay, you will simply say send. You'll simply say send. Post request. So for post request, you are inserting something. So you are sending some value. Okay, you are inserting some value. So you'll have to insert it via your payload, your request body. Along with your request, you will send your values also. Okay, so again, this is a public repository. So sometimes this is a publicly hosted API. So sometimes this might not work as expected. But fast forward, you get into an actual IT project, it will be a lot more different. The API will be very different than what you are using. It will not be this simple. The API will be a lot more complicated. All right. So Rupali has sent me a screenshot in which she has not inserted any parameters. She did not give name, she did not give job. But still when she clicked on send, she was able to send some request. Her request was processed and she got a successful response. That will not be the case in real time. No, you cannot do that. You cannot do it like that. All right. You cannot do it like that. You'll have to send your key value pairs, your data. Okay. You have to send all of those input data, only then your request will be processed. All right. So name is Anusha, job is student. So this record has been created. What is the ID of this record? The ID of this record is 535. The record has been created at so and so time, 2023 July 6th, some whatever the time it is. So this is how you can post a what do you call it? You can post a data, or you can send a post request in API testing. But again, how are you guarantee? I mean, what is the guarantee that your record has been inserted? What is the guarantee that your record has been inserted? Maybe the API is not working properly. Yes or no? It's not guaranteed that your value, Anusha and student, these two values might not be even inserted, but it is still saying inserted. You never know. So for that matter, what you can do is you'll have to retrieve an endpoint where you can check if Anusha is a user who is present in the database. You should get an endpoint from your developer so that you can verify your post request also. So that you can verify your post request also. That is which is using get. Okay. But again, there is some other way also to identify if your request has been a successful request or not. There is some other way also to prove if your request has been successful or not. Okay. Not always your request might be successful. You can also check it out by a small concept called as your HTTP status code. HTTP status code. Okay. So in your response, so if you go back to your response at the bottom of the screen in Postman, if you go to the bottom of the screen, you will get the response ID, so and so, created it, so and so, Anusha. So if you go to your response, if you go to your response, okay, if you go to your response, Postman learn, inside Postman only. If you go to, exactly. Yeah. In your, అది గట్టిగా తల్లి అది పోస్ట్ ఇందాక మార్చేసిన లేదు. In your response body, go to your response body. Where do you get your response on the screen? You send a request, you get a response. Where do you get? Exactly. In your response screen, okay, just a little bit above, right top of your response body, you'll get something called as status with a globe symbol. Status with a globe symbol. Status with a globe symbol. So everyone is able to see it on your screens. Everyone is able to see this option. Okay. So if your request is a successful request, all right, each HTTP request HTTP response code has got a separate meaning. So here 201, I've given the meaning of what 201 is. So how does API communicate with us if our request has been successful or not? How will the API say that our request has been successful? By sending some status codes. By sending some status codes. What are those status codes about? If your CRUD operation has been successful or not. Whatever the operation is that CRUD operation successful or not? You can identify based on your status code. So here most of you might have got 201. I believe most of you have got 201. So the meaning of 201 is if you go and hover on 201, you will get the meaning. But again, if I have to tell you, whenever a new resource is created, whenever a new how do you call Whenever a new resource is created or some new data is inserted, then you will get a create as response code 201 created. This is what you will get. If you try to insert something or if you try to insert a new set of data, then you will get 201. So how can we say that this request is successfully handled or not? How can we say? So in your API testing, your status codes are of 5 types. You have 5 types of status codes. One starting with 100 series or 1 series. Your status codes are of 3 digits. Okay, status codes will be of 3 digits. The first digit will always be either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So there are 5 varieties of status codes. Those starting with 1, those starting with 2, starting with 3, starting with 4, starting with 5. So how will we have to know that? 1 to 199 is one set of status code. 200 to 299 is another set of status code. 300 to 399 is another set of status code. 400 to 499, 500 to 599. These are all here different status codes. So does that mean I'll have to learn all the 500 status codes? No, not necessary. But there is a shortcut to understand your SQL, your status codes. How? Any status code which is less than 400 is always a correct status code. The request has been successfully processed. Any status code which is less than 400. Less than 400 means from which point to which point? From which point to which point? So I said 100 to 199, 200 to 299, 300 to 399, 400 to 499, 500 to 599. So I said anything less than 400 is always a successful request. The request has been successfully processed. So what are the status codes that will qualify under successful response, successful requests? Which status codes will qualify under successful requests? Probably Bharati is the only one who has answered this correctly. 100 to 399. 100 to 399, because anything less than 400 is a successful request. So less than 400, what all status codes will you have? You'll have right from 100 to 399, not from 1. Your status codes will not start from 1. I said it will start from 100. That is 100. Okay. So if you get the status code, if the status code is between 100 to 399, then it is a successful request. So that's how your API will tell you that, okay, this request has been successfully processed and you will be getting some response for this. That is what is a successful request is. But what in case your request is not successful? That means, hold on. From this, Anusha, from this particular URL, remove API. From this particular URL, remove API. Don't remove the forward slash, just remove the API. Now include another forward slash before users. Now try to send a request. So what is the status code that you guys are getting here? What status code are you guys seeing here? 404. So 404 means the request.in server. Okay, the request.in ka jo server hai, that server is not able to understand this endpoint. That server is not able to understand this particular endpoint. Maybe it will be present in the upcoming releases, but at the current moment, the API does not handle these kind of requests because the endpoint is not in a proper format. And even though if it is in proper format, lot of other details are missing in the endpoint. So who has made the mistake here? Did you make the mistake or did the developer make the mistake here? Why did you get 404? Whose mistake is that you have got 404? No, not developer. The developer has given you correct endpoint only, but you did not copy paste the endpoint correctly. Okay. So here the developer is not at fault. You are at fault because you did not copy the endpoint correctly. So 400 series, that is 400 to 499 and 500 to 599. Both of these series, 400 and 500 series, both of them are for negative response codes. These are your negative response codes. So what is the meaning of 400 series? 400 series is when the 400 series will be triggered. The 400 response code, 400 series response codes will be triggered if the user or end user has made some disturbance or did not copy paste the endpoint correctly, or there is some problem at the API tester or the person who is using this Postman and doing this API manual API testing. Okay, that person has made a mistake in the endpoint, not the developer. The developer, if you modify the endpoint and send your request correctly, the developer, the API will respond, not a problem. But here, the candidate, the student, what they did is they have changed the endpoint. They have literally changed the endpoint. You are trying to access something that is not even present with you. Okay, you can access only request.in/users where question mark is equal to so, where name is equal to so and so, job is equal to so and so. This is what you have written. Very good. But is this the correct endpoint? No, this is not the correct endpoint. You are searching for the wrong thing at the wrong place. So that is why it is saying 404 not found. 404 not found means, did you guys now understand? 404 not found means the server can simply not process your request. It does not understand what that endpoint is. We don't know what that endpoint is. What is the meaning of that endpoint? It does not know. And even at the beginning of the session, I guess Adhika has also sent me a screenshot. Even there also that will be the same thing because the endpoint is not understood by your API. So it cannot process your request. So that is why it is saying 404 not found. Okkasari go back and hover on 404 tali. Indulone ide screen lo. In this screen only, at the status code section, over and show what 404 is. 404. The requested resource could not be found, but may be available in future. Subsequent requests by the client are permissible. So what is it trying to say is 404. Whenever you get 404, it means that the API does not understand what this endpoint is all about. The API understands only a few set of inbuilt endpoints. That's it. Any new API, it might not even any new endpoint, the API might not even understand what your endpoint is about. So Anushka, she has modified her endpoint in an incorrect fashion, or at least that endpoint will not work for this particular API. So she is using wrong API endpoint for this particular API. You are using the wrong endpoint. This endpoint is wrong. And for this endpoint, if you are sending a request, you'll obviously not get a correct answer. You'll get some other answer. And that answer was 404 not found. As simple as that. Now understood, you got some idea what status codes are. Status codes are of 5 types: 100 series, 200 series, 300, 400, 500 series. So what series of status codes are considered successful? 100 to 399. Exactly. Not 100 to 400. No, not 100 to 400. 100 to 400 kaadu. 100 to 399, or simply say less than 400. Less than 400 means 100 se leke 399 tak. So less than, so simply say for a successful response, your response code will always be less than 400 only. That is 100 to 399, not 101 to 399 or something else. Okay, so 100 to 399 is a successful response. Next, you want to take another endpoint, and this time to try to send for 500 series, there is not any website so that I can show you 500 series. So 400 series, the problem may be with the client side. Client is someone who is using the API. So due to client issues, you might be getting 400 series in the status code or the response code. But 500 series, when will you get 500 series? When the server is not responding. When the server is not responding or your application is not responding. Okay, the problem is at the server, basically, not at the client. The problem is at the server, 503, or let's say, internal server error, bad gateway error, or gateway timeout error. These are all what you get usually. So in those cases, your status code will be from 500 to 599. Okay, so 500 series, you will get 500 series exclusively when there is server side issue. It's not your mistake. If you are getting 500 status code as 500 or 5 series, then ignore the API testing for some time and try it later on. Maybe there is some issue with the server. If you are getting 500 series, straightforward, that's the answer you need to understand. But if you get 400 series, the problem lies with your SQL, the problem lies with your endpoint. Okay, the problem lies with your endpoint in case of your 400 series. But anything less than 400, all of them are positive only, all of them are successful requests only. You'll get proper responses also. Okay, so successful requests are 100 to 399. Client side issues are 400 to 499. Server side issues are 500 to 599. This is what you need to remember. So is everyone understanding? Did you guys understand what I meant? All right. So now we know what status code is. So Anusha, Deeniki okasari send post request amma. Give some payload and send the post request. See what is the status code it is saying. Status code is 201. 201 means this is exclusively used for post method. I mean, whenever you are using post, you can see 201 created as the server response. Okay, next. Which website should I show you for 500 related error cases? For 500 related endpoints, which website should I take you to? And 500 series may be not possible in real time in the class, because to have a 500 series, the application should be down on the server itself. The server itself is down. There is some problem with the server. That is why you're not able to send any requests. And that is why you're getting 500 as the status code, 500 or anything starting with 5. So that is why 500 series, the problem lies with the server. 400 series, the problem lies with the client. Both of them are used for error status codes only. Okay, your request has not been processed. So in those cases, you'll get either a 400 related status code or a 500 related status code, depends on who or where the problem is. Okay. Informational response, not possible, because whatever that you do, okay, whatever request you send, if it's a successful request, the response code will always be in 2 series only. The response code will always be in 2 series only. 1 series and 3 series, you can't even see them. Very rare. I don't think you will have even any websites where I can demonstrate 100 series and 300 series. Not possible, to be really honest. Because nobody really uses this. Okay, the concentration is more or less on status code starting with 2, 4, and 5. 1 and 3 don't really bother about it. So even though you bother, you cannot even get the endpoints also that in that fashion. So that is the problem with your 1 series and 3 series. You will know that your request has been successfully processed, but you don't know what the status code for 300 series or 100 series is. You don't know. 100 is basically for informational purposes. 200 is basically for whatever CRUD operations that you perform. 300 is for redirects. 400 is when the client has some issue at his end. Maybe the URL is incorrect, or several other examples I have given to you in your notes. The 5 series or 500 series, the problem lies with the server. So 400 till 519, both of them are negative response codes. Negative response codes. 400, if you get 400 series, or if you get 500, if you get 400 series, the problem is with the client. If you get 500 series, the problem is with the server itself. So unless the server is up, you cannot do anything. The server might be down when you are trying to do API testing. That is why you must have gotten 500 series as the status code. Okay, but in reality, a successful response code is always less than 400. Successful response code is always less than 400. That is, the first response code is 100, 100 to 399. గుప్తా అర్థమవుతుంది, నువ్వు వింటలేవని చెప్పి. అని నీకు నాకు అర్థమవుతలే అని చెప్పి నాకు అర్థమైంది. లైట్ తీసుకో, నువ్వు వింటలేవని చెప్పి నాకు అర్థమైంది, వదిలేసి. ఓకే, సో go back to your request. Writing in notes. Writing, why do you want to write it in notes? I have already sent you the notes. And already notes పంపించిన, మీరు రాయొద్దని చెప్పి. I don't want you guys to write down notes. You're not kids anymore. అందుకే మీకు నోట్స్ పంపించిన కదా నేను. వర్డ్ డాక్యుమెంట్ పంపించిన కదా నేను మీ అందరికీ. సెండ్ యువర్ వర్డ్ డాక్యుమెంట్ ఫర్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ. వై డూ నీడ్ టు రైట్ అ నోట్స్? సో ఒకసారి చూడమ్మా, ఇంకేమైనా పోస్ట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా ఇక్కడేమో వెబ్ పేజ్ మీద? కెన్ యూ సీ ఎనీ అదర్ పోస్ట్ రిక్వెస్ట్? రిజిస్టర్ సక్సెస్ఫుల్ పోస్ట్. కాపీ ది ఎండ్ పాయింట్. Copy the endpoint. Okay, register. Okay, what are the different parameters that you need to send as part of your payload? Check చేసుకో ఒకసారి. What different parameters do you need to send as part of your payload or your request body? Request website లోనే. Okay, Zoom issue ఉన్నట్టుంది. Okay, email and password are your key values, key value pairs. Email is one key, password is another key. So you need to send some email and password as your payload. And what kind of request is this? What kind of request is this? This is a post request. Exactly. So you need to give some email, you need to give some password. So give something randomly. Don't give your exact email address. Why do you want to take up that headache? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Without ichama. Okay. So this is her request body. She is passing some parameters. HTTP request method. Did you all select post in Postman? HTTP request method in Postman. Did you all select it as post? ikkade kadamma, Postman lo. In Postman, did you all use the request method as post? Exactly. Next, what will you do? You have your endpoint. You know what your HTTP request method is. You know what your payload or parameters are. What will you do next? Click on send. Click on send. Correct. See, what is it saying? 400 bad request. The status code is 400 bad request. What is it saying? Bad request means the request cannot be fulfilled due to bad syntax. The request cannot be fulfilled due to bad syntax. So go back to your request.in. See, it is asking you to maybe to use @request.in, I guess. Instead of gmail.in, it is asking maybe for request.in. Bad request again. Missing email or username. Same thing, same thing. Okay. Email, correct. Okay. Next, next. Okay. Cool. Next, what will you do? You'll click on send. You have typed your parameters. You should click on send. Let's see if this will work. Still the same thing. Still the same thing. Try including double quotes for your keys also. Try including double quotes for your keys also. Really not required, but let's see. Now send the request. Still the same thing. So remove your double quotes from your keys and values, both of them. Let's see, without any key value pairs, will we be without any double quotes for your key value pairs, will we be able to send? Remove double quotes for both your key value pairs. All right. Next, try to send it now. Still the same thing. Still the same thing. Okay, that's all right. No problem. You can take another endpoint. You can take another endpoint. No problem. You can take another post-based endpoint. Hmm. Is this the same one or did you copy the different one? Okay, cool, cool, cool. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, come on. Paste it there, paste it there. Huh? Send your request. Same problem again. Request cannot be fulfilled due to bad syntax. Our syntax, somewhere it is going wrong. Mm-hmm. No, no. Anusha, go back to your postman. Mm-hmm. Email password. What you did is right. You need not worry. But, but. Mm, think bad syntax. Bad syntax. Let me also check that endpoint. Hold on a minute. You also have ID as the parameter. Check once. No, we don't have, no. Only email and password are there. अरे देवेश, आप गेट यूज कर रहे हो. यू आर नॉट यूजिंग पोस्ट, यू आर यूजिंग गेट. आपने जो स्क्रीनशॉट भेजा है उसमें गेट है. This is an issue with the endpoint, not with your postman or anything. Devesh, you said that you are getting the answer, but check your screenshot. आपके screenshot में आपने post के बगैर आप get use किया है आपने. So get is not something that you should use here. ठीक है? The endpoint is having some issue. You are doing it properly only. Nothing to worry. You have done it correctly, but the endpoint is having some problem. अरे आप उस endpoint को post के बदले में आप get करोगे तो आपको आंसर कैसा आना चाहिए, नहीं आना चाहिए. In reality, you should not get any answer, to be really honest. No, you should not get any answer. What you are getting, it means that there is some point with some issue with the endpoint. So this endpoint is not working properly. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Now go back to request.in. You have done your create, you have done your retrieve. Now let's look into update. Update. So there are two types of updates. One is put, one is patch. There are two types of updates, put and patch. Put is also update only, patch is also update only. So now copy the endpoint, copy the payload also. Copy the endpoint, paste it in your URL. Now this time you will use put because this endpoint supports put. Okay. So now you also have some payload, I believe. Check it there. Okay. So what status code are you getting? Is this a successful response or is this a unsuccessful response? Positive response or negative response? Successful. So I hope everyone has got 200 okay for this endpoint when you use put. When you use put, I hope you guys have got this response. That is your 200 status code. Okay. Using the status code. What is the use of status code? What did you understand by the meaning status code? What is the purpose of looking at the status code? What purpose does this solve? What is the purpose of this status code? We have just now learned it. What is the purpose of the status code? Why do we have to use it? Why do we have to learn about it? What does it indicate? Your status code will simply tell you if your request has been successful or not. Sometimes, if you get a very specific response code, you can understand about the issue in detail. But generically, if I have to speak in a very generalized fashion, anything less than 400 is successful. So you have got 200 okay. You've got 200 okay. Okay, I've given you some explanation for a 200 okay. I've given some explanation for 200 okay. So what explanation did I give you? I simply said 200. Oh, maybe I did not give 200. Oh yeah, I've given 200. In case of get, you are able to successfully retrieve the data. But in case of put or post, okay, again here also your request has been successfully processed, and if it's a put request, the whole data will be getting updated. The entire data will be getting updated. So if you remember, I have said for update you have put and put and patch. You have put and patch for update. In the CRUD operations, put and patch, you have both of them. You have both of them for update. You have get for retrieving, post for creating or inserting, delete for deleting your data. But for your updation of data, you have put as well as patch. So what is the difference between put and patch? When you run an endpoint in put HTTP request method, the entire data will be getting updated. The whole data, the data of the entire resource will get updated. That entire row might get updated. But when you use patch, patch is only for partial data update, not full data update. Patch is only for partial data update. Okay, your developer will tell you what kind of endpoint and what kind of method you need to use. But understand that put and patch are both different. Put is used for updating your entire resource. Patch, on the other hand, only for partial data update, not the entire data update. Okay, so here you were able to use put. You've got an endpoint. You have given some updating values, new values. So previously the name might have been something else. The job might have been something else. Now the new updated value is Anusha and her role is QA tester. You have updated the values like this and you have hit send. You have sent the request. Your request has been successfully processed and you have got a response. Your response is 200 OK. That means the record has been updated in the table in your using your API. So now did you guys understand what this all is about? All clear now about API testing, at least till now, whatever you have learned? Or is there any confusion? Come on, speak up. Regress is a practice website. In real time, you will not get regress. For our practice, we cannot create an entire API all by ourselves. So that is why you are using regress.in. Regress is a website which has dummy data. You will have endpoints for partial and full update. You can check in regress website. You will have endpoints, one endpoint for put and one endpoint for patch. You have done put now. Now check for patch. You can check for patch also. You will have endpoints for patch also in regress website. In regress website, you will have endpoints for patch also. See patch, huh? This again is a very dummy data and some of the endpoints will not even work properly. But it gets a little difficult for us to have an API all by ourselves. Having an API, hosting it on a server is a very big task. It involves a lot of money. So that is why we use publicly available APIs. Okay, we use publicly available APIs. Okay, so now update your data, Dali. Now send the request. What status code did you get? 200. Okay. So this request was successful or unsuccessful? Was the data updated? Was there some data that was updated partially or not? Exactly. Exactly. All right. So this is what is the difference between put and patch is. Put is basically update the entire resource at once. Patch, on the other hand, is only able to update partial data of the resource, not the entire resource. Okay. So now we are done with create, retrieve, update. The last one is delete. Now you will have another endpoint for a delete functionality also. Delete. Simple. Copy. Go back and paste your endpoint here. And what will you select from the drop down? Exactly, delete. Now simply click on send request. See, what did you get? 204. 204 means your request has been processed, but it did not give out any content to display for you. If it is deleted, it should have said the resource has been deleted, but it is not showing that. But you should be rest assured, since this is less than 399, less than 400, you can simply be assured that your request has been successfully processed and that your record has been deleted. Okay, you have used a delete endpoint. You have copy pasted that endpoint here. You have changed the HTTP request method to delete and you have sent the request. Send the request. Now you are getting 204 as the status code. 204 means your request has been successfully processed, but it has got nothing to show for you. It is already deleted. So what will it even show? There is nothing much to show also. So that is what is your delete endpoint is and delete HTTP method is. So did everyone try all of these 5? Okay, get, post, put, patch, delete. All these 5. Did every single one of you try all of these 5? How to know fully partially updated? Unless you have access to the database, you can really not say. This is a publicly hosted API. We really can't say what is being updated and what is not being updated. Because if you have seen this previous screenshot from Rupali and previous screenshot from Devesh, Rupali, she did not give any payload, but still her request has been accepted and she got 201 created. Devesh, on the other hand, instead of post, he has used get and still the endpoint has functioned properly. But in some case, in some other case of post, your endpoint was not working properly. So this is a publicly hosted API. So sometimes these kind of glitches are common. I mean, in your actual IT project, this is not how your API will be. It will be a little better than this one only. No, why do you want to enter key and values for a delete? Why do you want to enter key values? While deleting, do you enter any values? You simply say where. You give some where condition. That's it. When will you use key value pairs? Whenever you are inserting something or whenever you are updating something. So that is why you have used payload only for post, put, and patch. That's it. These 3 only you have used payload. For the rest of the HTTP request methods like get or delete, you don't need any payload also. Just execute the endpoint and done. I mean, send the request to the endpoint and you are done. That's it. Okay, so now everyone, did you have a fair understanding what this is about? For your practice purpose, I'm sending you one folder inside the manual testing. Inside the manual testing folder, there is another folder. There will be another folder called as practice. Okay, so you can use this. It will also have some more endpoints for you. You can use those endpoints for your practice purpose also. Hold on, let me send that to you. You want to delete for a specific user, then you must need either a username or ID. And again, Just having username or ID is not sufficient. There should be a dedicated endpoint which will satisfy your condition also. So there should be a dedicated endpoint for that. The more requirements you will have, the more endpoints you will need. So you need to have one dedicated endpoint where you can delete a user based on username or ID. I have sent you the practice URLs also for API testing. You can use that and practice it. If you take a pull in the manual testing folder, you will find something called as practice. If you expand that, you will see REST API URLs.txt. You must be getting a practice folder. Yes, expand the practice folder. Yeah. Here you will be getting REST API URLs also. Open that. Yes, I have given you some tasks for API testing also. So you can mix your API testing, database testing, your SQL queries, your Jira, all of your knowledge, and you can do some work on this particular API endpoints. Okay, you can use this for your API testing. Some of these API endpoints are not working also. Just a disclaimer, and that is for you to find out which endpoint is not working. That is for you to find out which endpoint is not working. That is something you should tell me. At the moment, the important URLs, important links is not for you. REST API URLs, REST API URLs.txt. Okay. So this is where I have given you some tasks. Do it. Some of the endpoints are not even working also. That is up to you to inform. I'm not going to reveal you anything. So you'll have to practice this in your Postman. Okay. Just take the endpoint. I have given you some payload also. Do it. Follow the instructions and do it. Okay. Let me stop the recording here. I hope everyone is clear with this concept now.